to me, he would be forever terrorist Jolani. First, he was Al Qaeda, and then he was Al Nusra, which is also a terrorist organization. And then he became ISIS leader from Idlib, the headquarter of ISIS. And the Kurdish people knew him and obviously were fighting him. He is behind crimes against humanity, women, beheadings, selling Yazidi women and girls as slaves, killing of innocent people, and believed in the true caliphate, Islamic State.
I want to welcome everybody at home to a young lady by the name of Gino, who is a true activist. You know, in a world filled with social media activists and leftists who believe that they're activists, you're somebody who's actually standing up for your people in a very real way. And that's something that caught my attention, you know, when you were kind of brought onto my radar, right? You got recommended to me, especially when I started speaking on what is currently happening in Syria, more specifically now to the Kurds.
Yeah.
You know, this is something I was introduced to by a close friend of mine by the name of Yada, who is actually Druze. And so, you know, that was my real first introduction to Sweda and, you know, and much of this almost sovereign part of Syria that should be sovereign, and these people groups that should be their own people groups, but unfortunately have been under the sword of jihad.
Yeah.
And so, Gino, or I I don't want to pretend like I'm the expert on anything. And so I really want to get your full perspective on what is currently happening that most of the world is ignoring right now.
Yeah. So thank you for all the kind words, and
Absolutely.
that Drews introduced me to you shows
Wow.
no, it really shows that uh, the the awareness and the struggle ethnic minorities and
Mm,
religious minorities faces right
mhm.
now, and we all see it as an ethnic threat,
Right.
a, an existential threat to us.
Mm.
So I'm really happy that it was a Druze.
Yeah.
It could also be an Alawite. It could
Mm,
be an Ismaili, a Christian, a Jew.
mm,
Um, and there are so many different minorities, and of course Kurds. But what is happening is we have Assad fell,
mhm.
which is a great thing because he was a tyrant
Okay.
to every people, to the Sunni, Shia, Alawites, to all the groups in Syria,
Mm.
and people were celebrating that, and we're happy for the fall of a dictator.
Of
Um,
course.
and then what comes as the face is a terrorist with $10 million on his head, claiming he's the new president. Um,
Mm,
and to the Kurdish people, we know him very well, and way before the world got to know him this publicly.
mm,
Why did the Kurds know him? Was because the Kurdish people were fighting the Islamic State during
mm,
the 2013 and then until 2000, well, until now actually,
mm,
uh, mm, until today. And Jolani was his name. They want to call
mhm,
him something else, but for me and to me, he would be forever terrorist Jolani. He was fighting. He was a leader, ISIS leader. Well,
mhm,
first he was Al Qaeda, and then he was Al Nusra, which is also a um, terrorist organization. And then he became ISIS leader from Idlib, the headquarter of ISIS. Um, and the Kurdish people knew him and obviously were fighting him. So he
yeah,
is behind crimes against humanity, raping women, beheadings, selling Yazidi women and girls as sex slaves, killing of innocent people, and believed in the true caliphate, Islamic State,
Mm.
and was promoting that up until 2021. This is really, not like it. I
Yeah,
remember
this
what
isn't decades ago. This is
this is like.
less than 5 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask something real fast historically? I don't mean to interject, but I'm so curious. Okay. While this is happening, right? While the Druze are standing as, sort of front lines, is the rest of the world on to what's going on? Is there any sort of
Kurds.
media about this? Yeah, as you guys are fighting ISIS and these other terrorist organizations?
So the Kurds defeated ISIS.
Mm,
And it was the greatest battles in Kobani and Raqqa. We saw the pictures. I don't know if you remember, we saw the pictures and images coming up, women taking off their niqabs and
mm,
thanking YPG, the female fighters who were in
yeah.
front line, saving them. Great. I get goosebumps. But so we remember those. So Kurds won against these terrorists, and American soldiers were helping them. It was not
Mm,
it was not that they were at the front line, but they had the equipment and so on. So,
mhm,
but it was the Kurdish people fighting it,
yeah,
with the woman in front line. So woman life freedom comes from that. Jinjian Azadi, the Kurdish female fighters, they took that slogan of a lifestyle that we have as Kurdish women. They took that actually for the first time in practice, saying no
wow.
men can fight for us. Our enemy is an Islamist terrorist. They want to end us, and we are the
Mm,
greatest enemy of ISIS. So
yeah.
they said no man can fight for us. This is a woman's revolution. This is a woman's fight.
Mm,
So they took that in front line because first there was no female fighters. They
uh-huh,
made their own army and inspired hundreds and thousands, not hundred thousands, but thousands of international women globally joining them in that fight. So imagine a French, a Danish, an American,
yeah,
a German, all these women who saw, yes, this Islamist state, we are the true enemy. So we have to fight for the woman's survival and their existential threat. So the
mm,
world knew about the Kurdish female. We would be on the front cover of Vogue, these female fighters. They would be in front of
mm,
all the magazines they romanticized Kurdish women and their struggle. And then
yeah,
the world leaders in politics decided that they want to support I don't want to say former Al Nusra, former Al Qaeda, and an ISIS terrorist as the
yeah,
president of of the country in Syria. And well, that's good if he has changed, and if politics. I don't think that's good, but if they have decided that, that must come with conditions that he
of
can live
course.
up to a democratic society, that everybody would be treated equally. But what
Mhm,
happens, those who stood in front line, these
mm,
women, these men, young and old, who stood in front line fighting ISIS because they were in the front door of the Kurdish people for themselves, but most certainly for Europe, the region in general,
mhm,
US, they literally were the shield of security for us. They were abandoned by United States, Europe, and the entire world, and now they are being slaughtered. Alawites were
yeah,
slaughtered in March 2025. Druze were slaughtered in thousands also as Alawites in July. Um, the world were silent. The
mm,
world was just silence. Nobody would UN. You would have think all these human right
yeah,
organizations. I'm UN refugee myself, so I was like, hello, something
wow,
is going on here, and it's not even my people, it's just people that are being slaughtered. There's a video, I can send it to you later,
mm,
where a Druze is being asked if he's Sunni or a Druze, and he says, I'm a Druze, and then he's shot. There's videos of Alawites, Shia or Sunni, and and he says, I'm Alawite, and then he's killed. And we tried to so much, but now the Kurds who were in front line, those who we call allies, the best people who sacrificed 20,000 people in life to face the most evil thing that we have seen back
Yeah.
then, and 50,000 wounded. This is the biggest betrayal in my lifetime. I've never experienced something like that. And because of the betrayal,
Yeah.
completely all world institutions are completely silenced. They cover it up. Yes, we want to protect the Kurds. We want to protect the Kurds. But you know what I saw the other day?
What you see?
Yesterday, it was this night. I saw a child being slaughtered by a sword. A Kurdish child. Kobani, where the greatest battle against ISIS was won, led by Nasrin Abdullah and the Kurdish YPJ female fighters, is surrounded by ISIS and Turkish militias and Syrian army ready to take their revenge when they were defeated back from when they were.
Yeah.
Kobani is really a really famous and symbolic place. That's where Caliphate fell.
Wow.
So the world is silenced, and they are trying to whitewash this Jolani.
Mm.
Um, and Europe gives my taxpayer money to a country, to a person who only developing its army, recruiting foreigner soldiers to kill anybody who is not identified as Syrian Arab. So I want to tell you something. If
Mm.
you surrender, if I surrender to Jolani and say, yes, I'm
Mhm.
a Syrian Arab,
Uh-huh.
then, then I will not be killed. But I am not Syrian Arab.
Exactly.
Hurt.
Yeah.
And that's how the Rojava people in Rojava also feel. That's how Jews feel.
Of
That's how
course.
Christians and those few Jews that we have left, who feels they are secured in Rojava where the Kurds are. That's where they find shelter and protection. Um, feel so. This is the. I will say that this is catastrophic,
Yeah.
catastrophic, and it breaks my heart that Islamists and terrorists can win. You know, I am raised with the thought of no negotiations with terrorists.
That's
That was
right.
it. That's
Yeah.
just it. I'm just born this way. I was raised with this way, and I saw politics this way. I'm a
Mm.
political scientist, so you know,
Mm.
I also saw this way, and now I'm like, okay, the world is upside down. So now we negotiate with terrorists. We have Taliban in Afghanistan, who which we also just called. You remember we called Taliban 2.0.
Mm.
So what is going on? What are the values that we stand for? What is democracy? What is freedom of speech? What is human rights? What are all these labels that we are talking about when those in front line were actually fighting for it with their lives, their body, their chest, their hands, their arms, their legs, their face, front line of the evil, fighting for that? When we are not protecting them, when we are not behind them unconditionally, and then we support a Jolani. I,
Yeah.
I sometimes must pinch myself and be like, is this true? I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And this is not because I'm Kurdish. I'm like, is this true? What does this mean globally for
Yeah.
us? And now we see the Syrian regime has a ministry for religious issues. This ministry has issued an Anfal fatwa. And what is Anfal fatwa? Anfal, I don't know if you remember in the during Saddam, the Kurds were subjected to Anfal campaign, where
Mm.
180,000 Kurds were genocided.
Yeah.
And Anfal was a Saddam um, creation.
Mhm.
So they have found inspiration from that, issued a new fatwa on the Kurds. And this fatwa works. Why? Because first and foremost, they are killing the Kurds in Rojava in North Syria. I call it
Mhm.
Kurdistan. Second, in Netherlands, um, the Uber drivers, Syrian Uber drivers, were prevented from committing a terror attack at a Kurdish demonstration. 6 Kurdish people were stabbed in Belgium.
That's
Uh,
right.
yeah, 2 Kurdish girls were beaten in France, and so
And
on.
can you let the people know when this happened? Because they might think this happened years ago. This is like
No,
last week you're
no,
talking about.
yeah, yeah, it's last week.
Yeah.
No, this terror, this was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Attempt of terror. Which
Belgium
they
incident was about what, 3, 4 days ago?
Yeah, 4 days ago. Stabbed 6. And they were peacefully protesting, so it was not like, there was a fight. First of all,
Man.
why do you carry a knife? That's the first. But it
Yeah.
was not like there was a fight or anything. It was just attempt of terror. It was
Yeah.
a terror attack. And so we have become the new Jews, because they also call us Zionists.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've seen these videos coming out where the Syrian army is marching. Oh, Khaybar, Khaybar al-Yahud, Muhammad something. I can't remember
Mhm.
right now, which means Yahud, Yahud. The Muhammad's war has returned.
So the jihad in essence, they're calling for active jihad.
Yeah, yeah. And this is historically a context where Muhammad was slaughtering the Jews.
It's a very specific chant
Yeah,
towards the Jewish people, and
yeah,
now they're using it towards the Kurds.
yeah. Also the Kurds, but I believe this is also directly to the Jews and Israel.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah. And it's not one coincidence. It's not one time, 2 time, it's just when they march, they say that. Um, so yeah, the situation is really bad, and the betrayal has never been bigger. And these human right activists,
yeah.
advocates, and human right organization is really, really, really disappointed. I don't know if I believe in that I am uh, um, born with human rights. That it's
Mhm.
a born right, all the human rights. But I
Yeah, you
think
don't deserve to have your life taken by somebody else just
no, and I
because
have and
of their
freedom.
ideology. Yeah,
Yes, and freedom of speech is my born right, and
correct.
be free to wear whatever. If it's a hijab, if it's not a
Mhm,
hijab, if it's a bikini, whatever, that is your born right to decide for yourself and what to believe in and what ideology you want to believe in, as long as these things doesn't hurt me or my next.
correct.
Um, but I have lost. I am a refugee from Rojhelat in Iran, the Kurdish
Mm,
part of Iran, the Kurdish area of Iran, and we fled from Islamic Republic of Iran because my parents were in opposition to Islamic Republic, fighting Islamic Republic.
wow.
Um, so I believed in human rights when UN had me as a refugee, uh,
Mm,
acknowledged me as the refugee quote with my parents, and then we came to Denmark. And I
mhm,
wanted to be the general secretary of UN. That was my big dream. I wanted to do the right things because I believe in the universal rights.
yeah.
But it seems like it's selective. Let me say it
Absolutely.
like that, because it's not the Kurds who are only bleeding. What about the Sudan, Congo, all
Mm,
these other countries? What about China and the Uyghurs over there being they are being literal, it's a concentration camp.
mm,
Muslims over there. What about the Iranians? What about the Afghan
yeah.
women? What about the Turkish women who are being subjected to femicide? What about, and what about, and what about, and what about, you know? It's like we
Can I
don't care.
can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah, sure.
You know, because you seem to have a transitionary period where you believed in the system and then you saw the system turn against the very thing that you thought it stood for. And so I'm curious about the feminist aspect, right? Because, you know, in the West, there's this idea of feminism fighting for women's rights. And at a certain point, it relatively was that, right? I
Mm,
could say first wave feminism was a full push into women's rights. Fantastic. Second wave, it started picking up other aspects. But now we're in a place where we're like searching for women's rights. Like there is more of an emphasis in America on men who feel like they're women being protected than actual women being protected to the point where women are discarded, and here we're now ideologically choosing things. And so for me, my biggest contention was, wait, so do these women not matter then? I'm confused
mm,
because the feminists are the ones who are riding the coattail of this entire activist movement, and all of a sudden they're the most silent, right?
mm.
Is there not women in Syria or women in Iran right now? Are there not women being massacred? And is
Exactly, exactly. And you know, that's exactly Xinjiang Azadi movement, Women Life Freedom movement, which
mm,
started in Kurdistan in Iran, um, where Gina Amini was killed because of because of a scarf that
yeah,
allegedly was not good enough for them. She was killed, and my views changed there, because
mm,
it was like, don't you see this? Is Why do I need to tag UN and human rights organization to make this serious? Kids are being killed. What about
mm,
UNCRI? You know, and all these organizations that were supposed to be the voice of these kids and all these women, uh, but they were silenced, and I was one of the first, because I am raised with my parents. My parents
mhm,
raised me, so I have heard a lot of, you know, what can we do to
yeah,
overthrow the government, which is in
mhm,
Iran, the regime. And um, I heard this put the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard
mm,
Corps, on the terror list. This I heard 20 years ago when I was a kid. And I went out saying this in public, and I was met with, I don't know, outrage that we cannot put a country's sovereign army. I was like, no, this is not an army.
yeah,
This is an intel that works, that has broader terrorism both in the region, which we
mhm,
saw, and everything came out. They are making terrorism in Europe. They are
yep,
kidnapping. They are threatening. They are killing. Assassinations happened in Europe, in also in US and Canada
that's
and so
right,
on. But they were laughing at me that I was crazy to shut down the embassies, ask for shutting down the embassy, putting IRGC on the list was a crazy thought, until it wasn't, when 90 million Iranians say it, that's what
mm,
we want. And now when we see that 50,000 Iranians have been shot, killed, whatever, and this is at least numbers that we have.
yeah,
Only for 2 days. This is numbers of January 8th and January 9th. So this is not the total number. Yeah, yeah. So now they see, oh, maybe we should put IRGC on the list. Maybe are we still here? So I believe in feminism. I was born feminist. My mom is a feminist. But what kind of feminist? I am a loyal feminist to the feminism's original meaning and definition, that woman is
mm,
equal to the man, that
mm,
that the woman has have to have the same opportunities as men. You know, why a police officer can be a woman and a man. It can be a woman can be a president and a man can be a president. You know, all these things, which is very normal to us. Yeah, obviously,
Mhm.
a man can be a police officer and a woman can, but that's not like this in Iran. That's not
That's
like
right.
in Syria. This is not,
Mhm.
and this is why also Jolani is fighting the Kurdish fighters, female fighters. It's because they believe that the woman belong to certain um, other jobs than fighting in an army.
So they're offended in essence.
Yes, they are really offended.
Mm.
So when you ask me if some feminists are selective in their feminism, yes. Do I think that feminism is being used to uh, misused, taken advantage of its originality? Yes, I really believe
Mm.
that. But I am a feminist and I'm a proud one because I truly stand for what feminism in reality means.
Mm.
Feminism doesn't mean that a man is not a man and a woman is not a woman,
Mm.
and that those two are are not equal.
Right.
Not what feminism means. No, I don't want my man to pay tell me, okay, can you pay for your half of the dinner and I pay for my half of the dinner? I'm just taking some example. No,
Right.
that take me off. Um, I don't know why I said that as an example. I could come with a lot
No,
of
but again, it's because it's like if you are a feminist in this day and age, that's what has to be your belief is that not only it's like, are you equal to a man? You have to be better than him in the things that he is, as opposed to
no,
embracing the femininity. It's like
no,
there's beauty to the feminine as the masculine. God made it that way for a
absolutely.
reason.
And that's what Xinjiang Azadi is actually about. It's about
Mm.
that woman.
Yeah.
Before women's liberation, there is no freedom. There's no
Mm.
liberation. If the women are not liberated first from all the patriarchal system that it has been opposed to the society, then there's no freedom. And then people asking, well, what does that mean? So women are better than men? No, women are equal to men and men are equal
Mm.
to women. Can a woman be a build a house? Yes, they can. Can a man? Yes. But I can't, so I'm gonna
Right.
make my man do that,
Right.
build my house. And I don't like to cook, so my man's cooking, but I love to clean,
Mm.
So there's no really man and woman job, and there are something that men are better off
Yeah.
doing and some things are better women doing off. And to be honest with you, some things politics, women are obviously better to in men, to be honest with you. Why I believe that, and this is a little bit also a joke, meant as a joke, but what are these men doing? Why is Trump betraying the Kurdish woman and the Kurdish men who fought ISIS? Why is Khamenei still alive and not dead? And why don't we care? So I wish, we just had a year where all world leaders in the world were like me, like my mind, just
Well,
thinking of,
I'm gonna have to agree to disagree with you, Giorgino, because we also have had that experiment in much of the blue states, they call them in the United States, right?
yeah,
Female judges, female representatives, and this, that, and the third, governors, mayors. And because there's a high emotional aspect, there now becomes sensitivity. Like, okay, I'm gonna point out a perfect example, right? Khomeini getting into a position of power, into office, they use the leftist movement and young women off these college campuses to push for this movement, right?
yes,
So they
that is,
hack that emotional aspect is used just like judges. We have judges running rampant, multiple female judges, and almost every case when you have violent criminals back on the street, etc., is because of empathy and compassion. That nurturing aspect is deviated on its dark side. So again, there's what men are necessary for, which is the militant arm, and when it comes to the communication arm, I believe yes, women. But we need each other in that way.
But hold on, hold on.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Iraq War,
Mhm.
that was based on emotions. And who was that? That was Bush. No, hold on.
Go ahead.
Saddam's war against the Kurds and everybody, obviously, was based on emotions. It was his ego. He had to show that he was the great man.
Of
He had
course.
to
So
provide and,
so no, no, I
you
want
know, piss off and show some and flex a little bit to the
I
U.
want you to hear what I'm saying. So when I said the word emotion, I'm actually talking about the nurturing aspect. I'm talking about the side that goes, we need to feel sorry for these folks. So you have, let's say, with
Yeah.
socialism, it's an ideology. At least it presents itself as this, which is it's empathetic, it's compassionate, and therefore everybody gets a fair chance, and it's almost egalitarian in how it
Listen,
presents itself.
and socialism doesn't believe in this is a misunderstanding. Socialism doesn't believe that everybody is equal to anything. Socialism means that we as a community lift each other up, which is a great thing, I believe. While liberalism is like focused on the individual, right? And the individual's right, which is also great. And if you can mix that, you can make something great out of a society. I live in Denmark, and we have a social liberal society that is based
Mhm,
on both socialism and liberalism. And I really like this society. I believe it's the best democratic society where all not all communities, but women, and because we are 6 million people, where women and men actually feel like that they can um, become who they want, regardless of their parents' economic situation or their who they are as Kurd in Denmark
mhm,
or a Somali or a an Arab. It doesn't matter who you are. You have these opportunities. We give you that. As long as you can use them for a good thing, we will provide that. And then you're going to pay back to the society by contributing to the society, working, be part of the community, and so on and so on. But America is bigger, right?
and I wanted to just point at, like, the definitions of things, because when you say liberalism in, let's say, many places in Europe right now, with throughout the
Mhm.
EU, people
Yeah.
have a different representation or perspective on it than the United States.
Yeah.
Liberalism, the
You
platform
complete-
of liberalism is completely deviant, and
yeah.
I'll let you know off the record, like, I'm actually living outside the United States right now,
Yeah.
and so I'm in Europe, and so, again, I'm living in the thick of it, and a leftist in America is different in some respect, it's now catching up, but then the atypical liberal of old.
Yeah, it's 100%. So for example, when you call liberalism in Europe is a true definition of liberalism. It's John Locke, Will Smith, all these great thinkers who believe that uh, why are we focusing on a collectiveness? Why do we why do we have this kind of thought? What about the individual? What about
Mhm.
their rights? What
Sort
about
of
their
Ayn
freedom?
Rand type of ideology in essence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they did. I love liberalism on that aspect. My right, property right, and also and so on. I really love that. And Americans have chosen to call the far left liberals. So it's completely different,
Correct.
in my world, in our world where we live in Europe. But to get back to Syria,
Mhm.
Syria do not have a left or a right. They have
Mhm.
a jihadist
Right.
system, and the West has literally legitimized a terrorist as a world leader, as they did with Khomeini when they installed Khomeini in Iran in 1979. And you would have thought that you had learned the greatest lesson from a regime that was not only a threat to its people, to the region, to its neighbor countries, but to the entire world. committed terrorism all over the um, place, and then we do it again. I just don't understand it. Being anti-imperialist, anti um, 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 anti-capitalist, but it's all that within its system. It's like
Mhm.
China. They are saying they are communists, and they are
Sure.
also acting like one, but in the system, they are the biggest capitalists. But
I mean, yeah, they're
who
crony capitalists to their core, of course.
yeah, yeah, and who gets all the money? It's the it's the head of the system, and all
Mhm.
the poor people has to work for that and
Yeah, it's a
die.
state.
Yeah,
That's where its communist fangs come out because it is inherently the state who is running things, right? Who
yeah.
is the entrepreneur. Anytime somebody starts a business, they usurp that and, take power. But I want to get into the most important conversation here, which you've basically touched on in multiple different ways, but let's just get right to it. Jihad and the real threat of jihad globally. So this is
Sure.
something that I've kind of diagnosed as far as we don't necessarily we're very proud in this way, right? As folks, not just in the West, but the United States, because we haven't had multiple September 11s, right? There was one massive attack, and you could say, well, there were isolated incidents throughout the last several decades, but we don't have the same experience as somebody in, middle of Sweden or Tehran or, middle of Tel Aviv or whatever it may be. We just don't. And so
Mm,
we think it can never be us. That's the
yeah.
sort of hubris that steps in there. And so, can we talk about that aspect? Because who's the actual imminent threat here?
The imminent threat is Islamism, the
Mm,
ideology that believes that jihad is the way to reach ummah. And what is ummah? It's a one state where everybody becomes Muslims.
mm,
And where was that founded? Like it's always obviously in Islam. That's what they believe in. But where did that populism, religious populism, come from? It was invented by Islamic Republic in Iran.
mm,
That's the first time we see such a populist regime building their ideology on Islam.
mm.
So that's where Islamism comes from.
Okay.
And and then this becomes a Shia Sunni struggle in the Middle East, where the Sunnis also wants to fight for their rights again and
Mhm.
fight against Shia. These states can't even be friends with each other. So how do you expect us to be friends with you?
Yeah.
And this threat of jihad is about um, going into war, cost it whatever it takes. The price can be whatever, as long as you conquer uh, the lands and the people for the idea. And Islamic Republic is the biggest imperialist, even though it promotes itself as anti-imperialist. But
Mhm.
it has its own proxies, and Iraq is literally run by Islamic Republic. Like you would see
Mm,
Qasem Soleimani's pictures all over the place. You would hear in the radio in the car. You'd hear Iranian radio station talking about how great prophet whatever was from Iran or whatever. So, and that doesn't stop there, because the goal is to come to Europe and also conquer and establish a caliphate here. And how do
mhm.
they do that? They do that with having Shia mosques, which works as an institution for intel and spying on the country where they are established and function, but also to spy on exiled Iranians, Kurds,
Mm,
Baluch Azeri, and so on and so on. And for what? To eliminate them, to eliminate us, so we are not telling them the truth. So I don't sit here and telling you
right.
what what this mean, and what they do in fact in reality. And right now we see with Syria, um, that this has incited terrorism and attacks in the name of God, in the name of Islamism and terrorism. They feel um, they feel that they can, and it is legitimate to kill Kurds in Europe, in European countries that has that have given them shelter, protection, education, um, good lives without fear. So that is jihadism. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and I want this to be on this I want this part with you, with the um so Syria has become a jihadi state, right? It has been
Okay.
legitimized and so on. What do you think will happen now that all these ISIS cells who have terrorists who have been controlled by Kurdish people, so
Mhm.
they don't flee to Europe, so they don't flee and make terrorism, they have been released.
Yeah.
So there
Can you
are
speak on that a little bit? Because there's a lot of people that don't know this, and they're also lying in Europe about what actually happened, or
yes,
more
I will
specific
say that.
about Belgium.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
I will talk about it. But these people will get new names, they will get new identity, and they will get passports, and they will come to Europe, and they will come to America, and they will infiltrate, and they will infiltrate institutions,
Mm.
governments, and the society.
Yeah.
And when the day comes, we are literally backstabbed by those who we thought. Um, and this is not about racism. People will say, "Oh, now
But
legitimizing."
Islam is not a race.
No, and 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 and
It's an
and
ideology.
and I am against racism. I am anti-racist. But when you legitimize a terrorist state, then this is the outcome.
Correct.
So to go to talk about what happened with these ISIS cells. So when Kurdish forces defeated ISIS, they they were look how nice we are. We detained them.
Mhm.
We have been controlling them for 10 years, 11 years. We haven't executed them and so on. But they were detained and imprisoned, obviously, because they were really radicals. Some of them are emirs, some of the commanders, some of them are really, really high ranking radicals.
Mhm.
Um, and then the Syrian regime and its army started to attack those areas where Kurds were controlling um, uh, ISIS, what do you call it, prisons.
Mhm.
And for straight 5 days, 2,000 Kurds were fighting 40,000 jihadists. Um, Unfortunately, that's a little bit tough. Uh, Even though the Kurdish fighters are really talented and really skilled and really advanced,
Yeah.
40,000 against 2,000,
Yeah,
that's
you're
really,
slightly outnumbered. Yeah.
yeah. But they fought a brave fight and they actually survived. They actually survived until the international coalitions and CENTCOM. They decided to stop that, and for us, for me, one fighter is worth the world.
Yeah.
Kurdish fighter is worth the world. So for us, it was most important to get them out alive, and they made an agreement. So a corridor came to rescue them and get them back to the Kurdish control areas from Raqqa.
Mhm.
And then, when that happened, you see videos of Syrian army opening the ports to the cells, and you see that they are opening the port to the front door. So the prison is like, it's a big area. and then
Mhm.
it's closed, and people can walk out and in so that they can go out sometimes. These ports were open, and 3,000 ISIS radicals were released from Shadade. This is 4 days ago, so this is a couple of days ago. It's more now. And then in Raqqa, 200 to 500 of these emirs al-Aqtan prison was released. I don't know the exact numbers now, how many it is, but the port is open, so I guess everybody is out now. And that's between 10 to 20,000 fighters and their families. So, so I'm really
So
worried.
basically, these terrorists have just been flooded into the rest of society. And there's a story that's
Completely.
being
And
pushed.
yeah.
So I was saying there's a story that's being pushed over here, and actually my wife was the one who told me about this. She said she was visiting her folks in Spain, and she said, "Do you know that they're telling the greater public that the Kurds accidentally blew up one of their own prisons, which then allowed for these ISIS members to escape?" I can't make this up. This is local
Yeah,
news.
I've read that the Syrian regime is going with that. But I don't know how to explain this. Y- If these are opened, do you know what that means for the Kurds?
Exactly.
That's their death. So I
Exactly.
I don't know how much more I can explain it. It's like I can give an example. It's like
Mhm.
saying that Jews opened the prison for the Nazis.
Yeah.
That's just it,
Yeah.
plain and simple. Um, but obviously this is not true, and the United States doesn't even believe that either. Not
Of course.
not even EU believe that, because those who were released and those ISIS prisoners that they could find, they have been transported. No, sorry, that's not how it is. The ISIS prisons, where ISIS still are in these prisons, have been transported from Syria to Iraq so that the Kurds there can control them. So,
Wow.
that's how much trust the regime has from the United States. The United States doesn't
Mm.
trust them with. So obviously they don't believe that the Kurds bombed where they are themselves, where those
Right.
2,000 fighters. And I can say something. One of the commanders who fought in Kobani and defeated ISIS was there,
Mm.
and we would not bomb anything near him. I'm just saying, because he
Mm.
is our hero. He is
Yeah.
we love him. He's a real
Mm.
people's man.
Yeah.
Uh, so we would not do such a thing. We would never sacrifice. We are not those people who sacrifice ourselves for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, in war and in negotiations in politics, sometimes you sacrifice your own, especially in terrorist organizations. They don't care who it is. They sacrifice each other. We are not like
Yeah.
that. We don't
Yeah.
sacrifice each other. Nope. That's not how the
Like you
Kurds
said, one fighter is worth 1,000 in essence, so
are. If not
yeah.
more. I would not give a straight of a hair for thousands
Wow.
of an Islamist. Not a straight. I would
Mm.
save that for life.
Mm.
Never.
Why don't we understand the threat?
I believe the reason that by we, I mean our leaders don't take it seriously,
Yeah.
is because they think we are stupid. The
Okay.
people in Europe and the Americans,
Mm.
the citizens, the folks, they
Mm.
are stupid and they don't know what's going on, and that we don't know what is happening. And this is like just Afghanistan and Iraq situation.
Yeah.
where we just do whatever we want or install a Khomeini and then say whatever we want to the TV. They don't know that there are social media, that people are well
Yeah.
connected to the global, like globally. We get our information. I'm not watching the news. I'm not getting
Yeah.
information from the news
That's right.
anymore. Be it Fox News or BBC or CNN or what, nobody. I get
Mm.
my sources from the ground.
Yeah.
From the ground where they happen, where the things are happening. So they think we are stupid, and when we then complain, they are giving me an diplomatic answer, um, saying, "Yes, we are committed to demand protection for the Kurds." And I'm like, "That's not
Mm.
just the Kurds; it's everybody.
Yeah.
Can you demand everybody? Can you like
Can you
can
not
I
be in bed with terrorists? Why
can
are we
you
doing business with Jolani? Like, that's the
why do
questions
we
I have for
why
my
do we have
president. Yeah.
business with Iran? Why do we have business with Erdogan? Why do we have business
Yeah.
with Qatar? Why is Qatar having an air base in United States? What? What? And they think we're stupid. And when we say, no, the reality is like this, and then they don't know what to answer. And they are like, we
Mm.
are demanding the protection of the Kurds, our ally. No, 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 no. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
And people are not stupid. You cannot find one American soldier who can say one bad word of the Kurds they
Yeah.
were fighting with. You cannot find one American or a European who says, no, we should not protect the Kurds. You cannot find it.
Mm.
And I would put my life on it
Yeah.
that everybody knows what the right thing to do is. But it seems like they think we're stupid, that we don't know what's going on.
Is there also an aspect of, with this sort of woke ideology that's taken over much of the West, that they don't want to offend certain groups of people?
No, I
We're
don't think
being
that's
called
true.
Islamist or Islamophobe or whatever it is.
No, no, I don't think that, because if being woke means being awake of some certain s- um, uh, uh, situations that are happening, then you would be aware of the Kurds, you would be aware of the Jews, you would be aware of even the Palestinians who had to deal with Hamas and the war and the amount of death that they have experienced, or they would be know that Alawites or the Kurds. So woke, I don't think that it has anything to do with that, because is Trump woke? I don't think so.
No, but I'm saying it's the antithesis. It's for us, again, I have to explain American dynamics, it's the left is the activist class, or they presume themselves to be, they echo and champion for all minority groups.
Well, to be
And so when
honest
you
with
bring up Islam, they say, well, you're Islamophobic if you talk about this ideology. That's what I'm speaking in
yeah, but
relation to.
yes, but to be honest with you, I need to debunk that right now,
Go ahead.
because the
Floor is
left
yours.
is fighting for the Kurds, the Druze, and are the left in Europe and in America have been the ones, the actors who have warned against Jolani, who have stood by the Kurds, and who advocated for the protection and the Kurdish sovereignty and the Druze sovereignty and the Alawites' protection. That's the left. Right now in European Parliament, the complete right wing groups has have declined a resolution in the European Parliament that says we need condition if Jolani needs our money again.
So you're speaking of the platforms, not individuals, because when I was seeing the Kurdish protests down the street,
Yeah,
it was the so-called right wing activists that they call racists who was standing with the Kurds.
yeah.
So
I
is
don't
it
know.
individual versus platform? And we could talk off camera because I'm not going
Politics.
to give my exact location, but it's I probably already
No,
thrown some guesses out there.
yeah, but no. I don't know if it's politics means something.
Hmm.
When our leaders are leading, and when they are deciding, um, then I think that reflects on the people, whether it's a bad outcome or a good outcome, it reflects on the society. I've seen left and right supporting the Kurds, both
Mhm.
not in politics, but in society, the
Mhm.
individuals.
Yeah.
I've seen them both. But to be honest with you, and this is something you can Google and search up. The right-wing politicians who are scared of Islamism, who talks about who can be racist too, um, they voted for Jolani, they legitimized Jolani, and they approved billions and billions to Jolani's regime that now is being used to slaughter Alawites, Kurds, and Druze, and Ismailis and Christians. So this is the fact. When it comes to it, when they can actually do something, when we need these right-wing politicians, they are not doing what they are preaching they will do. And they
Mhm.
don't understand what this will have as consequence if this continues, if they don't stop this dude. If they don't stop him, immigrants will come and they will find their way, even if you put a wall up.
Yeah.
And what else would happen is even more scary than having refugees. Especially, I'd love to have more Kurds over Europe, even though I think they should stay there, and I could go back there. But they are good people and they can bring good to the society. But it's terrorism.
Mhm.
That's what we are going to see more and more, and that's what
Yeah.
they have legitimized. So when I hear another far left, far right politician talking about Islamism and
Mhm.
refugees and that, I I don't know what I'm gonna do. Actually, I will explode.
I know you will. You're on the verge.
So mad
Yeah.
because they legitimize him, and when the
Yeah.
left in Europe right now, it's actually I am cooperating with the left because the right wings won't hear
And you know
me.
what's interesting is, then we have my homegirls, the Druze. The only people who cooperate with her was the right, and the left ignored the plight of the
It's
Druze. So
it's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's so
it's
stupid.
an easy thing. It's like that's evil. This is good. That's wrong. That it's pretty straightforward when it comes to this ideology.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that everybody should believe the same as I do.
Of course.
That you have to be civil and be in the middle and find a good solution. No, you can be extreme here and there
Sure.
as long as it's not reflecting on me, as long as you don't put it in my throat or putting a scarf off on me or taking my scarf off. So it's not because I'm asking people to not be Muslims or not having extreme, conservative uh, ideology or an extreme left radical thoughts or idea. That's not because that's what makes us good. That we can, okay, the extreme says this and the extreme says that, and then we can maybe find some ground solution. That is
Yeah.
how we make
We
a
used to
war
do
in a
politics.
civilized. Yes,
Yeah.
that's how we find solution in a
Yeah.
civilized uh, world. So that, so I'm not asking. I'm just asking let's not make a person who was proud of 9/11,
Yep.
who was proud of killing thousands of people in America, and
Yeah.
then 2 million caused the 2 million death in the region, and then he was like, no, I'm not Al Qaeda, I am Al Nusra, and then no, I'm ISIS. That's not. He has literally a CV that says I am a terrorist.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
let's not do that.
Yeah.
Because if I hurt you, if I punch you, you will go for jail. But this guy has caused
Yeah.
Yazidi women being sold, killed, children being beheaded because they didn't want to go to the army, fathers and uncles being killed in front of you. I mean, how can we
And
do that?
they stand with that guy, but then they call Bibi Netanyahu a war criminal. That's how I know this whole thing is backwards.
Exactly. They call
Yeah.
him a war criminal, but
Yeah.
Jolani is not in heck.
He's a princess.
He's a prince,
Princess with a cute
and,
beard.
and and he's a war criminal, but Khomeini is not, was not a war
That's right.
criminal. He is not, and Erdogan is a prince also.
Oh, of
Uh,
course. Red carpet.
yeah, and
Red
China and
carpet for
Russia, and I don't know what, you know.
North Korea, Little Rocket Man. He gets a full-fledged parade, you know? Crown
Sure.
Prince of Saudi Arabia.
I swear. It's
It's
crazy.
and that's the part that gets me where I'm like, okay, everybody is spiritually blind on this one because, well, not everybody, but if you can't see that a terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist, then I don't know what your moral compass is. I don't necessarily understand what your barometer is. If it's strictly politics or economics, then you've lost your humanity for the sake of business. And I can't get down with that. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah, that I agree with that. That's also my biggest issue.
Yeah.
That you don't see evil and good, and
Yeah.
then you choose evil.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's something. I'm not being, metaphors, or I'm not using those things. It's literally evil. We've seen
Yeah.
it. We saw them on YouTube. Do you remember? I don't know how old you are, but I remember I was on YouTube and I was like, no, they did that with the sword and all,
Mhm.
things. No, they filmed the girl raping the girl. No, they sold her. No, you remember? The Kurds saw that and chose to fight it, knowing what they were fighting, what they will
Yeah.
face, and
Yeah.
then save the entire world from disaster and collapse with their bodies,
Yeah.
just with their bodies. If I may say this, the
Mhm.
Kurds started fighting ISIS. They were like 12 people who started it with AK-47. That's how it started it. That's
Wow.
how honorable these people are. How honorable.
Mm.
Started with 12 people, and one of them I know.
Wow.
Started with 12 people saying, we are going to fight this, even if it's going to be our death, at least we
Yeah.
die with honor. And Farhad Shami, which is the head of SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces, led by
Mhm.
the Kurdish forces, he said, "For our people," I'm translating this, "for our people, life with dignity or death with honor." So they have decided. He just
Mm.
posted it a couple of days ago. So they have chosen already and decided that they are going to again fight these terrorists.
Amen.
And this is who my people are.
Yeah.
And I wish that I know the world see that, the
Yeah.
people, the citizens of this world. I know they see that. I know that I believe in the good. I believe in the good. And I hear it. I hear it. I see it. But I hope soon our leaders will not be so selfish and don't
Yeah.
think
And
so much,
cowardice.
cowards, and don't think so much of their own pockets,
Yeah.
because that's what it's all about.
And so I wanted to ask you as you wrap up, what are your last words? If you have a megaphone to the world right now, what would you
If you
say?
are not being the Kurds' voice
Mm.
right now in Rojava, in Kurdistan, in northeast Syria,
Mhm.
then I don't know what values you stand for,
Mm.
because they protected us for 15 years as a shield, human shield. They
Yeah.
protected us from evil, and they deserve your voice. They
Mhm.
deserve our attention, and not only that, because that they deserve it, and that's the first thing that they that I believe they do. but also for your own protection. Because
Mm,
obviously your leaders, our leaders, don't care about the terrorism that is going to come
yeah.
to us soon.
Well, thank you for being that voice for your people, and they become all of our people, right? Because these are supposed to be our fellow human beings, and again, they're doing the one thing that most people, even myself, it's like, would you have the courage to stand up when nobody else did? Would you be one of the 12? But they were. And so, thank you for what you do. And, I will continue to do what I can on my side.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for echoing our
Absolutely.
voice. But please, this is not about the Kurds. There's
Yeah,
also Christians,
that's right.
Druze, and Alawites, also Sunni Muslims who don't want
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
and Arabs. So this is about larger group of peoples who just want to have a life with dignity.
Mm. They say
And
live with
women
dignity, or
freedom.
that's
Can
right.
you say that?
Amen.
Life freedom.
Women, life, freedom. Is that it?
Yes, that's
Give me
it.
the translation though. I want the original. It's
Jin Jian Azadi.
Jin Jian Azadi.
Yes.
Jin Jian Azadi. Till the next time, folks. Thank you. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace. Who are you praying to in quiet time?